that being said, I'm huge on participation. The more you guys interact, the less awkward this will be. I will ask a question and just stare at you guys. We'll just do this full stare off until somebody breaks, and it's not going to be me. So today we are talking about the Battle of Guadalcanal, and specifically North Dakota National Guard's role in World War II. So it's a little cool, in-depth, like these are people from an area you guys obviously know, being in North Dakota, had a pretty big impact, right? So, for people who are free and who mean to remain so, a well-organized and armed militia is their best security. What is a militia?
A hardly trained force.
Hardly trained force, okay. Comprised of who? Who makes up a militia? Are they professional soldiers or volunteers? Volunteers, right? So they're just citizens that have decided to pick up arms and defend their community, whether it be a city, state, country, etc., right? So knowing that, would you guys consider the National Guard a militia?
This is
Yes.
where that whole communication thing comes into play. guys.
All right, so we're saying yes over here. Yes, so the National Guard would be considered a militia, right? Because we are comprised of what are called citizen soldiers. So Monday through Friday, 28 days out of the month, they are in civilian clothes, they do a normal job, they go to college, they're in high school, they go to work, they play video games 9 to 5 in their mom's basement, I don't care, right? Either way, they're civilians most of the time. And then 1 week in a month and 2 weeks out of the summer, they put the uniform on that Sergeant Schmidt is wearing, and we took an oath to protect and defend the United States, right? So part-time soldiers. Back in 1941, we were talking about the 164th Infantry Regiment. Do you guys recognize the locations on the screen? Yeah, they're all still around today, right? So that 1 week in a month and 2 weeks in the summer, we would go to one of these locations, and that's where we would train on various Army tasks, right? So a big theme throughout this whole presentation that we're going to go over is shoot, move, communicate, right? So right now in high school, you guys are learning how to read, write, and do math, okay? In the Army, we learn how to shoot, move, and communicate. Those are the 3 fundamentals. If you guys are to join the Guard today, you still drill at one of these locations. So pretty much no matter where you are in the state, there is somewhere where you guys can do that 1 week in a month. All right, August 27th, 1940. President Franklin Roosevelt calls the National Guard to active service at the urging of the Chief of Staff. This initial move was intended as a 1-year partial mobilization for the National Guard to be used to train draftees. I have 2 questions. First of all, what is a draftee?
Person that gets drafted.
Okay, I love that answer. Get it every single time. So now, elaborate. What does it mean to be drafted?
When they like put your name or know your birthday in like something and they pick it and like, is it everybody's birthday? Right? Is it off of birthday?
Yeah, so it's like the anti-lottery, right? It's the one you don't want to win.
Yeah.
Did they volunteer?
No.
No, they were just selected, right? They came into this classroom and they're like, hey, I'm taking 12 of you, and they grab 12 of you and then they leave, right? So Sergeant Schmidt's going to be drawing names at the end. But either way, so yeah, training draftees, non-volunteers. Second, what got us into the war, World War II? Pearl Harbor. What is the date of Pearl Harbor? When did Pearl Harbor happen? Say it loud.
December 7th, 1941.
Absolutely. December 7th, 1941. So August 27th, 1940. Are we in the war yet? No. So why would we be activating the National Guard now?
Getting ready to go to war?
Getting ready to go to war. Perfect. Yes. So is it better to prepare for war after we've been drawn in or beforehand when we have time to prepare? Yeah, beforehand, right? So we kind of see the writing on the wall, what's going on in Europe. We don't want to get involved, but on the off chance that we do, we at least have soldiers ready, right? December 11th, 1940, the North Dakota Adjutant General receives word that the 164th Infantry will be entering federal service on January 27th, 1941. So just about a month later, right? But like all government functions, the date was wrong, gets pushed back about a month to February 10th, 1941. So, what were some professions back then, back in 1941? What are some things that people did? professions in North Dakota, you think? Farming, big one, right? So, December 11th, you're notified that in 2 months you're gonna be gone. Is that a lot of time to prepare? No, so now you gotta tie up loose ends at work, you have to find replacements for you. It's super short notice, right? Where do you guys think we're going? What's that?
To one of the locations and companies to train or something of the sort.
Absolutely. So out of the 7 or 8 schools that I've done this presentation at, you are the only one to give me a logical answer. My number one answer that I usually get is Germany. We're going to Germany first. Doesn't make any sense to me. That's Fargo education for you. All right, February 25th, 1941. After training at their local armories, we board troop trains and we head down to Camp Claiborne, Louisiana. So it's a 22-hour train ride from Fargo down to Camp Claiborne. At that time, our motto was, "Goodbye, dear, I'll be back in a year." All right, everyone raise your hands. Now, keep your hand up if you think we're back in 1 year. Interesting, all right. Well, back in 1941, this was Camp Claiborne at the time. When we first got there, what do you think the camp looked like? What's that?
None of that.
None of that, exactly. It was a desolate field, completely empty, barren. So can you train soldiers at a training post that doesn't exist?
Probably not.
No. So what do you think the North Dakota Guard's purpose was reorganized to? Building this, yes, exactly. Building Camp Claiborne now, right? So this black circle up here, this is where the 164th stayed, so our North Dakota guys. And in total, the camp consisted of just under, 7,000 tents. And only a couple hundred hard structures. So showers were hard to come by, hot meals were hard to come by. It was primarily cots and tents for just about everything on post. So do you think it was a super comfortable stay? No, it doesn't sound super comfortable. All right, so throughout our time on Camp Claiborne, the 164th gets attached to the 34th Division with a couple regiments from Minnesota and Iowa, and there was a total of 4 that created that division. So, has anybody seen this patch down here before? Okay, so you guys see how on Sergeant Schmidt's left arm, he's got a shield with a bow and 3 arrows? So that's the North Dakota unit patch. Ours signifies heritage to the 3 Sioux Indian tribes, right? This is Minnesota's state patch. Yeah, anybody know what it's called?
Take a guess.
Super obvious.
Take a guess.
Probably Red Bull.
The Red Bulls, exactly. It's called the Red Bulls. Do you guys know why it's called the Red Bulls?
The Red Bull.
Say why?
Got a Red Bull on.
Literally because it's called, yeah, it's a Red Bull. Favorite answer I've gotten so far is it was named after the drink. Red Bull was not around yet, so it's not named after the drink. So, another easy question. North Dakota, back in 1941, population-wise, big state or a small state? Small state, right? So as a small state, our units are also small, which is why we have to get attached to the 34th Division. Every unit, in order to deploy, has to have a set of supplies, assets, and unit members to actually be deployable by themselves. And at this time, the 164th just isn't big enough to do that. So we have to get attached to a larger division in order to be self-sufficient. Does that make sense? Okay. The 34th Division is actually still around today. They are still based out of Minnesota and Iowa. So in total, there was 2 from Minnesota, 1 from Iowa, and we were the 4th. Typical training day down at Camp Claiborne. 5 a.m. wake up, gotta make your bunks, get washed, shaved, sweep out your tents. Why do you guys think we made our bunks every day?
Might not get back.
Oh, that was morbid, bro.
Responsibility.
Might not be coming back. Clean that bunk up for the next home. All right.
I'm not gonna forget that one, that's good.
That was a good one.
Responsibility.
Responsibility, okay, yeah, yep, sure. Looking for another R word. Routine. Routine, there we go. Routine, so it establishes routine, which in turn instills discipline, right? So the ability to wake up and make your bunk every day was just the basics of building routines and discipline. We still actually make our bunks every single day of basic training. Hasn't gone anywhere, still around. 5 5:40 is reveille, preceded by roll call, calisthenics, which is just working out, and then policing up the area, which is getting your training locations ready for the day. 6:15 breakfast. You guys think that was a super nice meal? No, probably not. Not great. 7 a.m. training began, and then 5 p.m. Stood for retreat, followed by chow, rifle cleaning, shoe shining, and showers. So I like to say that the work day ended, but your chores began. Because what do you guys think you're doing tomorrow? The exact same thing, right? Does anybody know what reveille and retreat are? Okay, so reveille and retreat are, it's a song played by a bugle, or tune played by a bugle that signifies the start and the end of the workday. And it's also the raising and lowering of the American flag at the beginning of every day. And then finally, 10 p.m. taps and lights out.
So just to hit on that a little bit, do you guys do the pledge here still? You guys stand up? You still don't say it though. I subbed here. Okay. So we take as much pride in that flag, on military posts. This still happens to this day. Reveille and retreat. We actually, if we're driving in our vehicles, we're still on post, and that song comes on, we stop our vehicles, we get out, and we render a salute. Go to the position of attention. So when you guys see me scowl at you for not saying the Pledge of Allegiance, that's just something that's been instilled for me for the last 20 years. Just think about that when it comes on, okay? And how important it is for what we do and why we do it. So that, from what had happened back then, way before then, to now, we still do it. So, sorry.
No, you're good. Do we have any questions on anything we've covered so far? Okay, I'm not big on the whole raising hands thing, so just shout something out if you got it. All right, December 8th, 1941. What happened the day before? Pearl Harbor. So the day after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the 164th gets detached from the 34th Division and ordered to San Francisco, where they conduct security operations on transportation and communication facilities. So why do you think we were moved from Louisiana to San Francisco? Closer to Japan. So what are we trying to prevent? Another attack on mainland USA, right? Why do you guys think we're specifically protecting transportation and communication facilities?
Because that's what they're trying to take away from us.
Okay, yeah. Partially. What are the 3 things all soldiers learn how to do? Shoot, move, communicate. So these are 2 out of our 3 pillars, like our foundation, right, that we're trying to protect. Because if they take away transportation, we can't receive aid and we can't get people out. And if we take away communications, we can't call for aid and we can't call for additional support, right? So we need to protect those 2 assets specifically to prevent another mainland invasion, right? So what did we tell our spouses exactly 1 year prior, just about? Yeah, goodbye dear, I'll be back in a year, right? So we just got moved to San Francisco. Do you think we're going back now?
No.
Probably not.
No. Where do you guys think we're going?
Japan.
Close. So March 18th, 1942, a couple short months later, 164th gets ordered to depart San Francisco en route to Australia, for Australia, en route to New Caledonia. Does anybody know where New Caledonia is?
Isn't that in Australia?
Yes, it's a very small island just off the coast of Australia. There we became one of 3 regiments to form the American Division. This is the first Army division to be formed overseas, and it's the only unnumbered Army division. So what do I mean by unnumbered? We are the 164th attached to the 34th, right? This is just the only division that didn't have a number to it, so kind of unique. All right, so this down here is New Caledonia, Australia. Does this work on the TV? No, it doesn't. Solomon Islands, we're going to be heading there shortly. Fiji's important. And then where is Japan in relation to all of this? Way up, right? So how do you guys think we got the 164th to New Caledonia?
Ships.
Boat, a ship? What kind of ship?
A big cargo one.
Big cargo one? All right, so we actually got our unit over there on a luxury cruise liner called the SS Calvin Coolidge. So it was originally a cruise liner that was later on repurposed for specifically World War II. Why do you think we disguised our unit or our troops on a cruise ship?
Yeah, usually civilians are on it.
Yeah, usually civilians on her, and so we don't get attacked, right? So we put them on a cruise ship, so the Japanese, who are currently patrolling this whole area right now, don't just attack and destroy our ship, right? So our unit had a chance to get there. October 13th, 1942, the 164th lands on Guadalcanal, where U.S. Marines had engaged the Japanese and were currently at a stalemate in the fighting. At that point, the 164th gets attached to the 1st Marine Division, specifically the 1-7. First question, what is a stalemate?
No
Like a
grounds.
Stoppage,
Neither side's winning.
neither side's winning, right? So both sides have kind of dug in, and neither group is winning or gaining ground, right? We're just stuck in. Second, do you guys think the Marines were happy to have us there?
Probably not.
No. Anyone think they were?
Probably.
Right, so we're showing up with supplies, ammunition, food, water, fresh soldiers. Do they want us there or not?
Yeah.
No, they don't. Yeah, so we showed up, and the Marines were like, "Oh, you guys are just a bunch of, guardsmen." They called us Boy Scouts. We weren't supposed to be there. Didn't want our help. So they put us in what they call the quiet sector, in the back of the airstrip. Not supposed to see much action. All right. All right. Quick caveat. I'm relatively new to PowerPoint. Sergeant Schmidt had to help me through this for most of it. So there's a couple animations in here that I put a lot of work in. So when the animations go off, I need a quick round of applause, all right? So we started in New Caledonia, and then we went to Guadalcanal. Super tough. So this is the island of Guadalcanal. We're fighting over Henderson Airfield, which is right about there-ish. What's the importance of an airfield?
Planes.
Airplanes, right? Are we, in this point in history, can airplanes fly all the way around the world without stopping? No, so they have to do what? Stop and refuel, right? And they also bring supplies. So if we control the airfield, can the Japanese use the airfield? No, it's all ours. So by taking over Henderson Airfield, we gain air superiority over the Solomon Islands, and then can in turn use our airplanes, and they can't use theirs, right? It's a big deal. So, shortly after getting pushed into the quiet sector, the 164th gets engaged by the enemy and saw the heaviest fighting in defense of Henderson Airfield. In total, the 164th suffers 26 killed in action and 52 wounded. At this point, the 164th also became the first U.S. Army unit to mount an offensive in World War II, specifically in the Pacific Front, It's 26 KIA a lot? Yeah? Raise your hand if you think it's a lot. You just said yeah. Raise your hand, man. Own it. Okay, so I think 26 is a good amount. One soldier is too many to me, right? So now, between your little groups, because you guys are kind of in groups, come up with a number and how many of you guys think the Japanese lost, so maybe like a minute or two. Ready? Great.
What? Yep, like demons.
Oh, 1.17. 1.17,000 people died.
That's who should be.
Do you guys have a number? Okay. Hold on. Do you guys have a number? Okay. Do you guys have a number? Do you have a number? Do you have a number?
0.
Whoa, all right. Do you guys have a number? All right. So say it loud now. This group. What's your number? 250.
We overdid it.
216.
Stay with me.
You're 0. Sticking with the hard 0.
Oh, go to 5.
Oh, all right. At least 5.
200.
200.
1,170.
Okay. So the numbers vary slightly, but it is an estimated loss of 1,700 to 2,300 Japanese soldiers in the fight of Henderson Airfield. So does our 26 look like a lot anymore?
No.
No. Does not look like a lot. So why do you guys think the Japanese lost so many soldiers? What did they do?
Probably just kept coming.
Just kept coming, exactly. So they have a tactic called bonsai charge. Does anybody know what it is? Seven, what is it?
Well, they basically say bonsai, and they fix bayonets, and they run at you.
Exactly. So you remember how we were at a stalemate? We're both in our own fighting positions? Well, Japanese is like, this is stupid. I'm gonna just send all my guys over to you guys. And eventually we'll send so many that you can't shoot all of us. And then they'll get in our trenches and then they'll win the fight, right? Did it work for them? No, it did not. Do you guys think the Marines were happy to have us now?
A little bit.
A little bit, right? A little appreciative. So we actually got a letter from Major General Vanderdrift from the 1st Marine Division Commander. The officers and men of the 1st Marines salute you for a most wonderful piece of work on the nights of 25 and 26 October 1942. Will you please extend our sincere congratulations to all concerned? We are honored to serve with a unit such as yours. Little did we realize when we turned over our quiet sector to you that you would bear the brunt of an attack so soon. I'm sure you were very proud of the fighting ability demonstrated by your unit, and our hat is off to you. So following this, we are originally the 164th Infantry Regiment for North Dakota, right? Following this, the 1st Marines started calling us the 164th Marines. Has anybody been to Washington, D.C. before? Okay, a couple of us. If you guys get the chance and you go to the World War II Memorial section, you find the Marines. There's actually a memorial for the 164th Marines, and that's you guys, the 164th North Dakota. On top of this, our unit commander, Robert Hall, became one of 3 Army soldiers in all of World War II to receive something called the Navy Cross, which is the highest award or decoration available to come from the Navy. All right, November 20th through 27th, so a short month after the Battle of Guadalcanal, offensive operations against Japanese forces to thwart the Japanese offensive began. Unfortunately, it was quite costly for us. Another 100 KIA, another 200 wounded. Through attrition of enemy forces, through combat, disease, dwindling supplies, we eventually brought victory to Guadalcanal, which created a major turning point in the Pacific War. What is attrition?
Like, if you're sitting in an area and you're low on supplies, you're gonna slowly dwindle and you're slowly gonna erode.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the wearing out of. So eventually we just outlasted them. Does that make sense? Okay. So we just took over Guadalcanal. The island is ours. Where do you guys think we're going? Do we get a break? Probably not. Just continue on. You're right. So now we're going to continue to patrol the island of Guadalcanal and remained in daily contact with the enemy. Final toll was 147 killed in action, another 309 wounded, 133 were ill. So now the 164th is no longer combat effective. What do I mean by combat effective?
They lost too many people.
Lost too many people, so we don't have enough operable soldiers to continue a mission, right? So what do you guys think we're doing now?
Sending them back and replenishing, or?
Sending them back and replenishing. Exactly. We're headed to Fiji. You can now pay a lot of money to go to Fiji, but we got to go for free back in World War II. There we enjoyed brick buildings, real beer, spared the threat of malaria, which is a good thing. At this point, we receive about 1,100 replacements, which brings our unit back to full strength. And the regiment also goes through a reorganization. So by reorganization, I mean, lower enlisted get promoted to positions of authority, right, and so on and so forth. So people are moving up in the ranks. So we get 8 months off. Are we going home, or are we going back to the action? Back to the action, right? Because when you're successful, they want you to keep being successful. So we're going to head up to Bougainville, arriving on Christmas Day. So Merry Christmas, North Dakota. You guys get more combat. At this point, we spent another year driving the Japanese off of the island, which required extensive patrolling and contact with the enemy. Another 35 were killed in action, and 153 were wounded. So Bougainville, oh, there we go, right there. It's a series of small islands here in the Philippines. We're gonna be heading over to Negros and Leeds and a couple of these small islands here shortly. What's our ultimate goal? What are we trying to get to?
Further inland, or further towards inland, for that matter, just gain more power over those territories that we lost.
Okay. Yeah. What are we trying to get to though? Our end goal? Japan, right? So to get to Japan, we now have to jump from island to island to island to clear the Japanese off. What is that called? Have you guys gone over that term yet? Island hopping? All right. Yeah, so now we're island hopping towards mainland Japan. Why do you think we have to clear out all these little islands before we just go straight to Japan?
So we don't get flagged.
So we don't get flanked, exactly. It's a bad idea to leave all of these happening with Japanese soldiers. So, next couple months, 164th Infantry Regiment boards ships heading to Leyte in the Philippines to begin mopping up operations. Here, the regiment played a key role in the campaign to liberate Leyte. And in the heavy fighting, the 164th suffered 86 more KIA, another 278 were wounded. Leyte was also the first location where a kamikaze aircraft was used. What is a kamikaze?
A suicide.
Hey, wake him up.
How long?
What's a kamikaze?
Suicide bombers.
Okay, perfect. Where were they used? Island of Leyte. All right. So, Island of Leyte, first kamikaze, which is a suicide bomber. So they're taking an airplane and they're intentionally flying it into the ground. Does that pilot survive?
No.
Typically not, right? So, if they're willing to sacrifice a pilot and a plane to take out just a couple of our soldiers, do you guys think the Japanese feel that they're winning the war right now?
No.
No. They're getting what?
Desperate.
Desperate. That's exactly where I was going next. They're getting desperate, so they're trying anything that they can. So they're sending pilots into the ground to take out a couple of our guys. What do I mean by mopping up operations? Kind of touched on it.
Means,
So let's-
I guess if you're effectively, you know you're winning the war and you know you have that ground established, but you're just kind of tying up loose ends and getting it, you know, each and every, you know, island, so to speak, get it liberated back and whatnot, and just, something along those
You're on
lines.
track.
Yeah, exactly right. So we're tying up loose ends, we're cleaning up the island, we're getting the rest of the Japanese off so we can establish control over that island. You did fine. April 1945 through August 1945, the 164th leads additional campaigns to the islands of Cebu, Bull, and Negros. Another 52 soldiers were killed in action, another 300 were wounded. At this point, the regiment was slated to be a part of the Allied invasion of Japanese home island. The Japanese surrendered on August 15th, 1945, which effectively ended the war. Why did the Japanese surrender? Say what?
The bomb we dropped on them.
The bombs we dropped on, what were they?
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? Does anybody know the name of them?
Little boy,
Fat
Batman.
Man.
Say what?
Fat Man.
Yep, and?
Little boy.
Little boy, perfect. All right. So the war is officially over. We're no longer invading Japan. Where's the 164th going? Home. I love the optimism. No, we're going to Japan anyways. What are we going to Japan for? Supplies. Clean up, yes, exactly. There's something called post-war occupational duty, right? So the United States has a policy that if we blow you up, we also have to fix you up, right? So we dropped some large bombs on them, which kind of decimated a couple cities. So we felt it was our responsibility to help them rebuild. We had to make sure that the country itself wasn't going to collapse entirely, right? What's another reason to occupy a nation that has just surrendered?
Make sure they're not gonna attack us again.
Exactly. To make sure that they're not going to, this wasn't just used as a timeout, right? It was a legitimate surrender. So we had to ensure that they weren't just rebuilding troops and soldiers to just push out on a counterattack. Now where are we going?
Hopefully home.
What's that?
Germany.
Germany? Home? No, we finally do get to go home, right? Because the war in Germany is over already, right? So November 24th, 1945, the American Division is officially disbanded at Fort Lawton, Washington, and the 164th Infantry Regiment is finally designated as inactive. For the North Dakota infantrymen, the war is officially over. What did we tell our spouses 5 years ago, 4 years ago?
Be back in a year.
Back in a year. At any point in here, did we get a break to go back home?
No.
No. Kind of sucks, right? Do we still deploy like this today? Do you guys have any idea? No, we don't anymore, right? So we found out after a whole bunch of studies and stuff, we found out that this is not good for you. No way. Crazy, right? So there's now limits on it. Up to a year, I think, is the max now, unless you yourself choose to extend, and there's a whole bunch of paperwork that goes with that, right? But since they were gone for 4.5 years, what was the main form of communication back home? Letters, telegrams, things like that, right? Is that a fast means of communication?
No.
No, not at all. It takes a lot of what? Time, right? Time and resources to get those letters to and from. So, you could have been on Bougainville, like super hyped up about winning Battle of Guadalcanal, year off in Fiji, right? You send a letter back to your spouse, hey, everything's great, it's doing awesome, and then you die on fleet to a kamikaze by the time she gets it. It's pretty cool, right? All right, following World War II, the 164th Infantry became quite decorated. So these are all of our citations from World War II in order of precedence from top to bottom. So Presidential Unit Citation, 1 Navy Cross, which was awarded to who? Close. Starts with an R. Anybody remember his name? All right, Robert Hall. Robert Hall, commander of the 164th. Then the various stars and service crosses are awarded to people that do like exceptional acts of valor that ultimately saved lives, made the process more efficient, something like that. All right. Purple Hearts. Anybody know what a Purple Heart is awarded for? Yes. Wounded in action, right? In total, we lost 325, and another 1,200 were wounded. So the Japanese on Guadalcanal lost 5 times what we did in all of World War II. Just to put that in perspective. That's a lot of soldiers that they just sacrificed for that one airfield, right? In total, we spent about 1,700 days on active duty, and about 50% of that time was in combat. But remember, we spent almost a year in Fiji, we spent a year in Louisiana, we spent time in San Francisco, plus all the travel time, right? So when we were actually in the islands of the Philippines and the Solomon Islands, it was probably 85 to 90% of our time was spent in combat. Is that a lot of combat? Yeah, it's a lot. So 6 out of 7 days of your week, you're getting shot at or shooting back. That's a lot. Do you have any questions on anything we've covered up in World War II so far? Nothing at all. All right, we're going to do a quick recap then. Where did we start? North Dakota, right?
Yep.
Where did we go?
Louisiana.
Louisiana. What was our job in Louisiana?
Build shop.
What was our original job? Train draftees, right? And then what did it get switched to? Building the camp, right? Did we stay in Louisiana very long? No. Where did we get moved to? San Francisco to do what? To guard transportation and communication facilities. Did we stay in San Francisco long? No, not at all. Where do we go to next?
New Caledonia?
Yes, New Caledonia. And how did we get there? A cruise ship. Anybody know what it was called?
The Calvin Coolidge.
The Calvin Coolidge. Perfect. All right. Now, from New Caledonia, where did we go?
Solomon Islands.
Solomon Islands, specifically? Guadalcanal. Who did we get attached to? The First Marines. Did they want us there?
No.
No. What did they call us? Boy Scouts. That's right. Were we Boy Scouts when we got there? No. What happened within that first week?
You got put on.
They got put in the quietest sector and attacked by the Japanese, right? Who lost roughly how many soldiers?
We lost 1,700.
We lost 26. They lost 17 to 2,300. Yes.
More than-
Perfect. Following that, who was awarded the Naval Cross?
Robert Hall.
Robert Hall. There we go. So, daily contact on Guadalcanal. We were there for a couple more months. After which we were deemed no longer combat effective, which means what?
Didn't have enough guys.
Didn't have enough guys, not enough supplies to keep fighting, so where'd we go? Fiji on our little vacation, right? We were there for 8 months, where'd we go to after that? Say what?
Back to combat, but.
Back to combat, yep, where? We're getting to lead. Yeah, before lead, starts with a B, anybody remember it? Bougainville. Bougainville in the Philippines, right? From Bougainville, we jump over to Leet, which is where we saw the first what? Kamikaze, right? Which is what? Suicide bomber, suicide plane. From Leet, we jump from island to island to island with a goal of reaching mainland Japan. What is that called? Island hopping, right? And then what happens on August 15th, 1945? The Japanese surrender. So where did we go? Japan. Do what? Post-war occupation. And then finally the war is over. Do we get to go home? Yes. We finally make it back home. Do we have any questions on anything we just covered? Okay. Real quick then, we're going to touch on an exceptional soldier that came out of World War II and the Korean War. We have Master Sergeant Woodrow Wilson Keeble. He was originally born May 16, 1917 on a Sioux reservation in South Dakota. He served with the North Dakota Guard for all of World War II, so he survived Guadalcanal, all of the Philippines, made it to mainland Japan, then came back at the end. He then afterwards volunteered with the active duty army during the Korean War, which he later died in 1982. So the reason we talk about Woodrow Wilson Keeble is because he is considered the most decorated soldier in North Dakota history. He is also a Medal of Honor recipient. Does anybody know what a Medal of Honor is?
The highest reward or the highest thing you can get for service, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's the highest award and decoration available to an individual soldier, and it can only be awarded to them by the President of the United States. It usually takes an exceptional act of valor that resulted in multiple soldiers' lives and some great accomplishment, right? So, when did World War II end? What year? 1945, right? So in 1951, 6 years after being done, he decided to volunteer for war again. He hops in with the 219th Infantry Regiment out of the 24th Infantry Division. On October 20th, 1951, Master Sergeant Keeble and his unit were tasked with taking a hill that had 3 pillboxes on it. Does anybody know what a pillbox is?
Machine gun nest.
Yeah, exactly. A concrete machine gun bunker or machine gun nest, right? So it's a concrete building, little window in it, they put a machine gun, they can shoot you super well, you can't shoot them back. Well, his unit had to take this hill, and they were trying to determine who's going to take charge of their unit in order to do it. Because it's a lot of responsibility, right? Because if we're all going to combat, and I'm in charge of you, I'm responsible for all of your lives. So if you guys lose one, that's on me, right? They were going to draw straws, but Keeble ends up stepping up and just volunteering. He said, I'll take it, and I'll take the hill. So on the first day, he goes up there with his team, they attempt to take the hill, Keeble gets shot, and they lose a couple guys, and they have to retreat, right? So he gets patched up, come up with a new plan. Second day, he goes back out. What do you guys think happens? He gets shot again, right? They lose some more on his team, and Keeble actually takes 87 fragments from a fragmentation grenade to the face. So his face now looks like hamburger, basically, right? So that night, they're pulling the pieces out of his face, coming up with a new plan, and Keeble's talking like he's going to be taking the hill again the next day. You know, he's been shot twice and took a grenade, right? So his team is saying, no, you're not going with us. You can't. There's no way you can. So to which he replies, I'm taking the hill tomorrow, or I'm going to die trying. So on the third day, Keeble goes out there with another team, but it's a little bit different this time. What do you guys think Keeble did on the civilian side before joining the army? Any guesses? What's that? Farm? One more guess. Construction. All right. So no, he was actually in the process of being drafted to the Chicago White Sox as a Major League Baseball pitcher. He turned down the contract in order to join the Army. So on that third day, he grabs his Browning automatic rifle and an armful of fragmentation grenades. He low crawls to the first hill, and he starts baseball pitching these grenades into bunkers. He takes out the first one, low crawls to the second, pitches them in there, takes out the third, and then low crawls to the third, infiltrates it himself, and then takes the third bunker by himself, resulting in them being able to take the hill and the whole team comes up. So because of that, he received his Medal of Honor. So we like to recognize him a little bit as an ordinary person that can do exceptional things, right? Do you have any questions on Master Sergeant Keeble? Anything we've covered today? Because that is it for me. So hopefully I didn't bore you guys